The story begins with Henry, an exceedingly simple man, working his night shift at a toll tax booth. His face looked as if his life was completely colorless. When he got home in the morning, his wife Debbie told him the same thing. "You don't love me anymore, do you? I remember when you did. Everything was so different." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud knocking at the door. When Henry opened it, his friend Eddie was standing there, accompanied by a man named Joe, who looked to be in terrible condition. Joe immediately started vomiting. Debbie, being a nurse, brought Joe inside to help him. Eddie then told Henry, "Brother, Joe's basketball team has a game today. You play in his place because he won't be able to in this condition." Henry tried to refuse, but Eddie put a jersey on him and dragged him along. Henry asked where the game was. Eddie said, "It's not far from here. It'll only take 15 minutes. Suddenly, Eddie asked Henry to stop the car and said, "We'll be back in a little while. We're just going to get some snacks. You just stay here and keep the car running, okay?" As they left, Eddie and his two companions, whom Henry didn't even know, put on masks. The three of them pulled out their guns and entered a bank. Poor Henry had no idea that Eddie and his friends were there to rob a bank and that he was their driver. Moreover, the car was stolen and had been started by hot wiring. A little later, the men rushed out of the bank and scattered. The guard at the bank saw Henry, who was wearing a t-shirt that looked exactly like the robber's attire. Because of this, Henry was arrested. The police tried hard to get Henry to reveal the names of his accomplices, but besides Eddie, who else did Henry even know? He was so simple that he didn't even name Eddie, thinking, no matter what, he's still my friend. Consequently, Henry was sentenced to 3 years in prison for the attempted bank robbery. As soon as Henry entered jail, he met Max, who spoke to him very kindly. The next day at breakfast, Max told Henry, "Every inmate here once had dreams. But then, something unfortunate happened in their lives, and they ended up here. What's your dream?" Henry replied that he had no dream. Hearing this, Max said, "Not having any dream is the biggest crime. So tell me, what is your dream?" When Henry gave the same answer again, Max said, "What's the point of a life without a dream?" 6 months passed this way. Debbie came to visit Henry in jail and said, "I have to tell you something important." Debbie informed him that she had fallen in love with someone else. Henry, with a big heart, said, "It's all right. I just want you to be happy. If you can't be happy with me, then with someone else." Meanwhile, Max had started to feel at home in prison. The inmates started talking about what Max had told a parole officer last time. When a parole officer asked you, "If we let you out on parole, what will you do for us?" "What did you say, Max?" Max replied, "I told him I'd break into their house, kill their dog, burn down their house, and cut the tongue out of every living thing there." Later, Henry was asked, "When is your review?" Henry replied, "Next month." Another inmate said, "Everyone believes Henry is innocent." Henry also asserted, "I didn't commit any crime." Max then told him, "You've spent time in jail, so no matter what you say, everyone outside will think you must have committed some crime." Soon Henry was released from jail. The first person he went to see was Debbie, but when Joe opened the door, Henry was shocked. Furthermore, Debbie was pregnant with Joe's baby. Seeing all this, Henry silently pondered how his life had completely changed. Debbie showed Henry all his belongings and asked, "What are you going to do next?" Henry gave no answer. Just then, Joe came over. He offered Henry a business proposition and thanked him for not naming him in court. Henry, however, said, "I don't even know your name," and quietly left. Later, Henry found himself standing in front of the same bank where the whole ordeal began. Suddenly, a car hit him, and he fell to the ground. The car was being driven by a woman named Julie. Julie scolded Henry harshly, then asked, "Are you okay?" The bank guard also arrived and suggested calling an ambulance, but Henry refused. The guard then helped Henry into a nearby cafe. Julie followed them. Henry told Julie, "I've seen you somewhere." Julie retorted, "Don't look at me, watch where you're walking on the street," and left. When Henry went to the bathroom, his eyes fell upon an old newspaper clipping stuck to the wall. The 80-year-old clipping was an article about a bank robbery committed through an underground tunnel that connected the bank to a theater behind it. The tunnel ran directly beneath the bank's vault. Henry immediately went to the jail to meet Max. He told Max, "I've found my dream. Robbing that bank, the one that got me here, is my dream. If I'm going to serve time, I might as well commit the crime." Max was confused. Henry asked, "Will you help me rob the bank?" Max questioned, "Do you have a plan, or are you just talking nonsense?" Henry assured him, "Don't worry, I have a top-class plan." After this, Henry went to the theater where Julie was rehearsing her play. During the rehearsal, the director scolded Julie, saying, "You can't do this." Julie angrily went to get coffee. On her way, she said to Henry, "Are you following me?" Henry denied it and followed her to the coffee shop. While drinking coffee, Henry praised Julie's acting. Julie then thanked Henry for not reporting the accident. Meanwhile, Max applied for parole in jail. After answering a few questions, he was also released. Henry had already instructed Max on how to deal with the officers. When Henry came to pick him up outside the jail, Max asked, "Where's your car?" Henry replied, "I don't have a car." Henry had actually walked to pick up Max. Max was furious. "What kind of lunatic did I get out for? Take me back. I don't want to be out here." But when Henry told Max his plan, Max was stunned. "This is your plan? The bank was robbed the exact same way 80 years ago. And do you have any guns or anything?" Henry said no, saying he didn't want to hurt anyone. Max sarcastically remarked, "Oh, Mother Teresa, that's great. But after the last robbery, the bank might have changed the vault's location, and it might not be above the tunnel anymore." To find this out, they had to go to the bank. At the bank, they met the assistant manager. The bank guard watched them intently as they entered. Max, in a very clever conversation with the assistant manager, confirmed that the bank's vault had never been moved since the bank was built. He did this so smoothly that the manager didn't suspect a thing, but the guard's eyes were still on them. Next, they went to the theater to investigate the tunnel. Julie was surprised to see Henry again, and this time Max was with him. Max quickly spoke up. "When I was young, I did a lot of plays here. I brought Henry to show him. Do you mind if I look around the theater?" As they went inside, Julie asked Max what plays he had performed there. Max immediately named Shakespeare. Max then said, "I have many memories here. I want to see every corner of the theater." Max was granted permission. As Max left, Julie asked Henry, "Is he your father?" Henry replied, No, just a good friend." On the other side, a theater employee was showing Max around and took him past the tunnel door. Max began to survey it. Meanwhile, Julie asked Henry what he did. Henry answered truthfully, "I was recently released from jail. I'm not doing anything right now." Julie was shocked. "Why were you in jail? You must have committed murder or something." Henry said, "It's a long story. I'll tell you sometime." They then made a plan to meet for dinner that evening. Back at home, Max told Henry that the tunnel went through a wall in a green room. "We have to somehow get that green room." Henry, however, was only focused on getting ready for his date with Julie. He asked Max, "How do I look?" Max laughed and said, "You look like yourself as always. Go enjoy your date. We'll plan later." During their date, Julie told Henry that she wanted to be a great actress and wanted everyone to know her name. During the date, Henry told Julie the entire truth, how he ended up in jail and that he now genuinely wanted to rob the bank. Julie was quite surprised by his plan, but was starting to like Henry. They returned home and their intimacy grew. The next morning, Henry and Julie went to Max's place, but Max was not happy to see Julie. Henry told Max, "Don't worry, she'll work with us." Max pulled Henry aside and lashed out. "Why did you tell her the whole plan?" A little later, while eating, Julie asked Max what he was doing in jail. Max replied, "I've killed many people." Julie then asked, "You've committed so many murders. Weren't you afraid of being caught?" Max replied, "I like going to jail. It's my favorite place." On their way to the theater, Julie and Henry had the idea to hold auditions at the theater so they could spend more time there. But a little later, Max had an idea. Replace the actor who had that green room and give the role to Henry. Then they could peacefully keep digging and no one would suspect anything. Henry objected, "I don't know how to act." Max hyped him up. "Look at your face. You're a natural actor. No one can do it better. Plus, this is the lead role." A little later, the original actor left the play on his own, claiming he got a role in a big movie. In reality, Max had tricked him. When Julie found out, she was furious. "Are you guys trying to ruin my career?" Henry auditioned and was selected. Now it would be even easier to complete their task. However, they realized within a day or two that the tunnel work was too much for 2 people, so they decided to include Joe in the plan. After much persuasion, Joe agreed to do the work. But seeing the tunnel, Joe said, "Why all this hassle? Just go in with a gun and rob the bank." Max replied, "We're not doing a stupid robbery like yours." The work slowly progressed. Along with the digging, Henry was also very dedicated to his acting role. Henry no longer just wanted money, he wanted to do something new in life. One night as they were leaving work, they were stopped by the bank guard, the one who had arrested Henry. The policeman said, "You're the one who was with the bank robbers, aren't you? And I've seen you going to the theater behind the bank many times. I won't let any trouble happen this time." Henry asked the policeman to come with him and drove to a secluded spot. Henry asked him, "What do you want?" The guard, Frank, revealed, "Once a month, a truck goes to our partner banks and collects all the currency in one place. At that time, this bank's vault holds more than 100 Crore rupees, a very large amount. Only a fool would try to rob the bank at any other time. I can be your man on the inside and help you with the alarm system." The next day at the theater, during Julie's crying scene, the director told her, "You've never been in love, have you? Your heart has never been broken. That's your problem. Without that feeling, you can never be a great actress." There was a 5-minute break. Julie went to the bathroom and started crying. Henry asked, "Are you okay?" Julie burst into tears. She said, "Yes, I've never been in love. What should I do? But I have to become an actress." Henry said, "You love me. You just don't know it yet. And I'm sure you'll be a great actress." Then they moved toward each other and kissed. That night, Max and Henry were preparing the robbery plan when there was a knock on the door. As soon as Henry opened it, he saw Joe and Eddie. Joe looked like he'd been beaten up. Eddie told Henry, "Joe told me everything, and now I'm in on your plan too." Max disliked Eddie instantly. He asked Henry, "Who is this sample?" Eddie retorted, "I know everything. So you have no choice now." Max asked again, "Will someone tell me who this idiot is?" But Eddie flared up, saying, "I'm in the plan and you're out, old man." Max straightforwardly told him to leave. But Eddie provoked Max again by calling him old man. This time, Max got angry and moved toward Eddie to hit him. Henry somehow managed to break up the fight. The next day, when Max and Henry went to the theater, they found out their show was scheduled in just a few days, which worried them. Henry said, "I don't think we can do the robbery now." The truth was, he had also fallen in love with Julie. After the robbery, they would have to run away, but now he didn't want to leave Julie. Max grabbed Henry and said, "You called me out of jail to help you, and now you're backing out? I've spent my whole life just talking. I was locked up in jail for so long. Now that I'm out, I'm going to pull off a big job before I go." That night, Henry and Julie met. Henry told Julie, "We have to rob the bank on the first day of the show, and then I'll run away to California. You want to work in Hollywood? Will you meet me there?" Hearing this, Julie's anger erupted. She said, If you were going to leave, why did you make me believe in love? You just used me to get into the theater. I won't meet you anywhere. It's my mistake that I fell in love with a thief." The day of the show arrived, and so did the day of the bank robbery. The play's director told all the actors, "Today is your day. Go and leave your mark. We have only 10 minutes left." Just then, the money truck arrived at the bank, just as the police officer had said. Henry continued to act well in the play, and at the first opportunity, he went to help his accomplices. Everything was going according to their plan. First, they used a tool to break the brick wall, and then, with a large welding machine, they cut through the safe's metal, making a large hole. With the policeman's signal, Max had already cut the wires, preventing the alarm from going off. But suddenly, Eddie pointed a gun at Max and told him to quietly leave. Eddie told Joe to quickly load all the money into the car. Joe disliked Eddie's actions and said, "Don't do this, brother. It's not right." Just then, Henry also arrived. Eddie tried to intimidate him too and hit Max with the gun, knocking him down, even though Max was repeatedly telling him not to. Max then grabbed the gun from Eddie's hand and started beating him. During the struggle, a shot was fired that grazed Henry's leg. Up in the theater, Henry's scene was about to start. He quickly, and somewhat limping, went to perform his scene. After thoroughly beating Eddie, Max tied up his hands, feet, and mouth. A little later, Henry, Max, and Joe vanished with all the money. Henry suddenly asked them to stop the car. Joe and Max didn't understand why he was doing this. They stopped the car. Henry told them to run and said, "I'll meet you later." When Joe asked Max where Henry had gone, Max replied, "Let him go to hell. You just drive." Henry ran back to the theater. Julie was performing on stage. Henry, still limping slightly, quickly climbed onto the stage. He told Julie, "I can't leave you. I truly love you, and I can't live without you." The scene in the play was similar, so the audience thought, "Wow, these guys are doing something different. What a scene." And they all waited for Julie to say yes. The director also dimmed the light slightly and signaled Julie to say yes. Julie was now also convinced that Henry truly loved her. After a long silence, Julie did not say yes, but her facial expression revealed everything. Finally, the hero got the heroine. He'll get the money too.
If you want interesting movie recaps, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.